Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. This is the post-fight review for the David Price and Derek Chisora fight at the O2 in London, which Derek Chisora has won by 4th round stoppage. So the towel came in after David Price was hurt in the 4th. He was dropped with a short right hook to the side of the head, sort of near the top of the head. He goes down, he beats the count, but the towel comes in from his trainer, Joe McNally, from the corner. Price looked like he could have continued, but his corner had seen enough. So Derek Chisora racks up another win. David Price, another knockout loss. And it was a bit of a disappointing end, but I'll come to this. Overall, it was very much like Derek Chisora sort of said and predicted in the press conference and ahead of this fight, that he was going to come and seek and destroy, that he was going to come forward, throw bombs, and really that's what he did. From round one, he was marching forward, and David Price was letting him come right into the inside. Chisora getting his work away, just letting his hands go. Especially nice body work in that first round, and he really was chopping to Price's body. He did stray low once or twice in the first couple of rounds. He was warned in the second round, but it sort of looked from about round 2 onwards that it was only going to go one way. Despite the commentary team talking up David Price something chronic, I actually thought that he looked a little bit anxious in there, because Derek Chisora was getting in there and really letting his hands go and catching Price, not always clean, but he was getting the cleaner, more effective work overall. Price was having some success in spots. There was the odd left hook, there was the odd uppercut, and towards the end of round 3, Price landed his most telling punch of the fight, a right uppercut that sort of, as Derek Chisora said after the fight, made him do a bit of a salsa dance towards Price's corner. That was pretty much on the bell. Ahead of that sort of shot coming in, David Price was in all sorts of trouble. Chisora had landed a nice right hand, and Price was sort of stunned momentarily, and Chisora followed up with a left hook, another right hand, and he was swarming Price, looking to get him out of there. So it was that right uppercut for Price that gave him a little bit of respite, but he never looked fully recovered, and Chisora really pushed the tempo at the start of round 4. And within a minute, it was all over. Price down from that right hook, as I mentioned, and the towel comes in. So overall, Derek Chisora, a good performance. He did what he said he was going to do, and there was very little resistance from David Price, letting Chisora just come straight in, get right up in on his chest, wail away on his body, sort of coming in with short chopping shots, and David Price looking to return fire for, close quarters action. For me, I was thinking, what is David Price's game plan here? Because 6'8", significant reach advantage, never really looked to use it, never really looked to work the jab, just let Chisora come straight in. So I sort of thought he kind of played right into Derek Chisora's wheelhouse, and it sort of went the way that I think many of us were expecting, that Price would have some success early on, albeit it was limited in this fight, and Derek Chisora would ultimately grind down, wear out, take out David Price. And that's what we saw, just in a slightly more condensed fashion than I was expecting. I was sort of thinking go 5 or 6 rounds, but it was over in the 4th round after the first minute. In the post-fight interview, Derek Chisora said, yep, his seek and destroy game plan paid off, it came to fruition, and he admitted he was buzzed by that uppercut, as I mentioned earlier, and he said of his next opponent, potential next opponent, he said, if Joseph Parker is available, he said, let's make this fight with Joseph Parker ASAP. But then his manager, David Hay, when he was immediately interviewed afterwards, said, actually, I like the fight with Usyk. He says if he fights Usyk, he's right up there. And in this fight, there was the WBO inter-continental title on the line. That's a relatively significant regional belt for the WBO. So Chisora, who's not ranked within the WBO, will probably go straight into the top 10. But all this talk of Usyk by David Hay, for me, it's wishful thinking. It's just dreaming. Usyk's team has already said they will just wait for their title shot now, that his next fight will be for the title. Chisora doesn't really offer Usyk anything that he would go, okay, I need to take that fight and risk the mandatory. And some people might say, well, Usyk, he might need another fight ahead of a fight with the winner of Ruiz and Joshua, and who knows when his title shot will be in 2020. But they're not going to fight Derek Chisora voluntarily if they don't have to, not because it's a massive risk and a fight that Usyk can't win, because I believe he could win that that one, but really there's nothing there for him. And David Haye, I think, is just talking it up. He's being optimistic. He's been saying in Fight Week that the WBO title could be on the line next for the winner of Price and Chisora, which I really do think is some fanciful thinking. It's just not going to happen. But overall, it was a good performance by Derek Chisora. He's proved he's still got something in the tank. But for David Price, yeah, not so much. I didn't think he put on a very good performance. The game plan, I was struggling to sort of understand why he was fighting the way he was, just allowing Chisora to close the distance, didn't use his height and his reach, his advantages over Derek Chisora. He was looking for the uppercut. He was looking to walk Chisora onto something, but clearly that game plan failed and it never really had much success from the outset. But there was some speculation by the commentators that perhaps the towel coming in was maybe a signal that something happened in camp. Maybe Price was carrying an injury and that they had seen enough. But ultimately, it's a 7th knockout loss for David Price. I would say retirement is likely, but we'll have to see with David Price, because I guess with him you can never say never. But ultimately he was outworked in this fight, outclassed by Derek Chisora, and ultimately knocked out. What did you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.